And now, Detailing Success and PNS Double Black present the Renny Doyle Podcast, a podcast for blue-collar entrepreneurs. Hosted by the detailer of Air Force One and founder of both Detailing Success and the Detail Mafia, Renny Doyle. And now, here's Renny.
What's up? Good morning.
Hey there.
How you doing?
Oh, you just got all fuzzy, but hopefully it'll probably clear up.
Yeah, yours was when I first came on. Just a little. It's clear now, though. Am I clear now? You know what I forgot? I don't have my good mic on. We got good audio?
Yeah, it's good enough.
Good. Okay, we'll stick with it then. I moved everything around and forgot to set my good mic back up. Bummer. So what are you getting in your new office?
I'm not in my new office.
No, when are you?
Oh, yeah, who knows? In all my spare time, I get to work on that thing.
Well, a goal without a date is just a dream.
Yeah,
so, I'm really good at tasking. I'm really good at tasking. So I think I'll put that up on the board and say, Chris, office, task, date. What do you think?
Yeah, well,
he gets a little pissy when I do that.
No, it's all good. Actually, I made a tiny bit of progress on it yesterday. I got a referral from an electrician because that's my first holdup. I need an electrician. It's too big of an electrical job to do myself, and
gotcha.
And it's so that's my first holdup. Once that gets done, it's all downhill from there.
There you go.
Stuff.
Sorry, I just derailed us. I was looking at some of the questions. Anybody that wears contacts will know this feeling. When your contacts are gone, they're gone. I put a new pair in last week, but we had training, so that a lot of sanding and compounding and chemicals being sprayed and everything else. And my contacts this morning when I got here, I said, "Oh, they're gone." We need an electrician too because one row of our lights are out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I'm gonna go
the whole row.
Whole switch. One of the switches is either the switch going bad or maybe a breaker got hit on accident. We'll go find it.
Huh. All right.
We'll go find it. I noticed it yesterday, but I thought I just missed. So.
Well, I'm coming up there today. I could always look at it.
Oh, there you go. Well, good. Okay. Well, hey, we got this is one of my favorite, introduction. I'm going to go back. We had that introduction done probably 2 years ago, probably longer than that now. Time flies.
Yep.
My favorite part of that, I mean, there's so many cool things in business, but training and helping people change their lives. And I really think what these Q&As are, if you really listen. But we had an example recently of somebody that we really, I really felt that, our group, myself, I know I did, put a lot more time into. And, you try to give people a view into maybe a little different way of looking at things, and it go haywire, And, but my favorite thing is to really try to instill, not shortcuts, but healthy ways of moving ahead in business and life and all that, because, it gets to a point where it gets pretty, I think one of the questions I saw was, gets pretty numb. You get numbing, right? And that's a good word at times. So we're going to talk about that. But, we last week, great, man, we had such a great time. We had our 5-day in-house and four students, 2 fantastic interns. You had Adam on one end, that's pretty seasoned, not just in, he's still a young guy, but he's pretty seasoned in life for as young as he is. He's got a lot of experience and seasoned in entrepreneurship, and then we had Mr. Carroll in town, the opposite side of that, just starting his life out, starting his business out, and they both just kicked butt. We had 4 great students. I mean, diverse students that worked really hard together. When we can always tell when a group can come together that don't know each other and they can figure out in less than 5 days, these guys figured it out in less than 1 day, they're going to do good because none of them got chips on their shoulders. All of them know when to lead, when to follow. That's a big one. It was just a great group. It was just a great time. It was incredible. And if you guys, we introduced them on the show last week, but tomorrow's big day. So we've got 3D. If those that haven't been following it, is ATG that we merged with, is 3D is part of that team. So they're going to be in house. Bob Phillips is coming into town to. We're going to just kind of share some double black. So be the first time that Team 3D is in Big Bear with us, so that's going to be fun. And we have good weather, and so we don't have to worry about roads and all that good stuff. And then next week, you want to talk about a little bit about what we're doing up in Seattle next week?
Yeah, we got a small team of about 10. I'm going to call them 10 specialists. And it's we're going up to Seattle Sunday, and we're going to stay till Thursday. So we're going to get in 3 straight work days. We're going to work on some airplanes that we haven't really touched either ever or in a long time. And one of them is a Lockheed Electra, which is the same plane that Amelia Earhart flew in. Not the one she flew in, obviously that one's missing, but the same kind of plane. And I believe you guys worked on it last about 11 years ago.
Yeah, we did. We when the museum bought it, we got to see it for its last flight. It's actually got a lot of history with Amelia Earhart. It's an exact plane made in that era. I think she had some history around it, not necessarily flying it. I might be wrong on that, but it did go back and retrace this. I think it was the 75th anniversary or the 50th anniversary. It was one of the big anniversaries of her going missing. It did the same route in honor of her. So it's a really historic plane. It's really one of the last ones left. I think those 2 were really special. Now they think they found her now in the water deep, and it's gonna take several months, if not a couple of years, to put the plan together, see if they can raise the wreckage. But they're pretty sure they found her. So if that happens, this plane, that news came out, after we'd already scheduled everything. But this plane's going to become probably more in the spotlight because more people are going to know about Amelia and her Electra and her journey, and what an incredible human being. So that's, like you said, we're bringing back a lot of the veterans that came back and worked on the project back in the day, and it's going to be a fun project. So just so you know, I'm going to let a cat out of the bag. I'm not getting there till Monday, and the reason why is it's Diane's birthday on Sunday, and I don't want to leave her, and so I'm getting there early Monday. So just FYI, I'm not screwing around, but kind of. And the week after that is we're in Hawaii for a little detailers event. We've been promising the detailers and aficionados of car care that we'd be over there. We've been talking about it since before COVID, and so we just decided to kind of go. And so we're going to be on the Oahu, and we're going to take and do some events and stop by some shops. So if you have a shop or a mobile operation, make sure to come to our event, but even make sure that we know about you so we can come see you. And we'd love to see you while we're there. So pretty big. But Monday of this week, the Bartell family, Winnie Bartell passed away a couple weeks ago. And she was the mother of.
I was going to say, Ren, you sent me a picture I was going to share, but my system is not cooperating right now.
It's okay. So she was the mother of my first wife, my high school sweetheart, Becky, which I'm really, really close to. This brought us even closer. It brought Becky and my wife, Diane, a lot closer. But we laid her to rest. It was an honor. I got to perform the eulogy, which was, I speak at so many events and stuff. I don't get worked up about speaking. I love speaking. This one had me pretty tied up on Sunday leading into it, because I just wanted to send her out. How do you send out the most powerful person you've ever met in your life? I mean, I realized things as I heard her history from her family, that I've been around the family for, going on 50 years. But this person never ceased to amaze me on how incredibly intelligent, strong, compassionate they were while they were still struggling to build their business, their empire, probably in their early 40s. They were sponsoring families from out of the country to come here and get them here. And so Fred and Savitri and their girls, I got to see them. They're one of the families that the Bartells helped out. But Winnie, God bless you. Godspeed to you. I know where you're at. I know where you're at. And it was a bittersweet moment, of losing somebody 90 years old, amazing life. Pretty much she was a character all the way up until just, hours before she passed away. She had a great exit, and I was fortunate enough to be there when she passed away. and fortunate enough to have good people around that supported me the last couple of weeks. It's been bittersweet. Like I said, new 90 years old. We're not gonna. It was more testimony to go live and do what you want now, because you don't know when your 90 might come up when you're 50. You just don't know. But I just wanted to pay a tribute to her, because amazing woman that laid foundations for not just me but so many people. But she was changing my perceptive of myself and my. I always say situational awareness. Nobody has really good situational awareness right now. She was teaching me at 13 years old how my situational awareness was small thinking, and I didn't even know it. And so this amazing dynamic. So we lost her and Bill now, and what I call my 3 pillars are gone. My mom, my grandma are my 4 pillars, but Winnie was the primary one. But just dynamic woman. I was so blessed to have her. And all I can tell you is, if there's somebody doesn't have to be blood to be family. And Winnie was family through marriage. I never, even though Becky and I, like I said, I've got mad love for Becky still. She's a dear, dear friend to Diane and I. I just adore her. I always will. I know to some people it sounds weird, but for us it works. It always has. We're just, somebody I'd really admire. But you have got to go tell people shit that hasn't been said. And you got to go tell people that stuff 10 times, 20 times, 30 times. That woman absolutely changed my life. And she made a point a couple of years ago to say, you can stop saying thank you now. You don't need to, we're getting on in our years, and you're getting old even now. And I was like, I'll never stop, because that's how much of an impact you left on me, and incredible time. If you're ever around me personally and live in person, ask me why she changed my life. There's 2 reasons. She made sure my car awareness was good, and car and aircraft awareness was good. And she started that passion out. But there's another key. So just, if you're around me, ask me. So, well, let's kick it off. So we got some.
We got a lot of questions that got sent into us in advance when I put out that we were doing this, and so we're just going to start with the very first one. And if you guys got questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. But I've already got quite a few, so we'll get to as many as we can. But they're good questions. They're going to have good answers. So, first one came from Anthony Carrera. He asks, what keeps you going when you feel like you've poured all you have to give?
Man, I'll tell you. Hey, Anthony, thank you. Good hearing from you, buddy. Mental toughness comes in a lot of different ways. And I would say, as I was a kid with just a lot of kind of a challenging upbringing, is the people around me try to keep me on the straight and narrow, and try to keep me like, I just had so many things popping off it so quickly for being that young. And there's a lot of people that had a lot worse, but it was definitely not an easy ride. So I'd say that my fortitude, my mental toughness had to start being built up at a pretty young age. And then learning, like, I'll pour it back to a lifetime passion is lifting. I lift, at least 4 or 5 days a week. And, my buddy Norman always says that the reason why people, most humans, it's a small percentage. It's like 10% of the entire population can bench press 225 pounds. It's that doesn't sound like, for those of us that lift, doesn't sound like a lot of weight. But for those that don't lift, think about that challenge. And the reason why they can is they've just never put the time in to develop the muscles to push that weight up, off of them. And so I think people are the same way, is that if you don't take, everybody talks about, especially entrepreneurs, especially blue collar entrepreneurs, they spend so much time honing in their skills and then trying to perfect it, and then trying to go out and find the next best product. And while they're doing that, is their mental health is gone, their physical health is gone, their financial health is gone. And so a lot of times we concentrate on the things that really are pretty easy to get around. And I've been guilty of that. I'm not preaching. I'm telling, so, the other thing is that you got to really know who to talk to and who not to talk to. And so when I'm down, really when it's, I've poured everything into it, and I'm just, my tank's on empty. A, my faith has played a huge part in that. B, my connection with souls, people. I found out that maybe during those times, even the people closest to us, you don't want to over worry them. And so sometimes opening up with stuff that's unnecessary to tell them can be problem. It can cause another problem. But it sounds crazy, but my walks with my dogs, my time with my horse, there's a lot of times I might not be talking out loud to them. Maybe I am. Some people probably think I'm crazy, right? But I am. I'm. Those are my times to get things out. I'll tell you, last year I walk a lot, and I kind of last year we lost our dog Boomer. It just kind of bummed me out because everywhere I'd go, it reminds me of him. And so my daughter and I just started really walking again. So I work out and walk, get on the bike. The walking part, believe it or not, I don't listen to music. I typically don't like walking with somebody else, and I do 25 minutes one way, and then I head back. So it's about just under an hour walk, and that makes a huge difference. Also, getting in, this is going to be an answer for a lot of things, is getting out of your element. So so many people in the trades. If you get into, like, most of my family are electricians, which is ironic because I got an electrical problem. You don't see them all hooked up. They're out boating. They've got multiple interests. Our industry is kind of not new, but new as being a technical trade, right? Like being an electrician. But so many of them have got escapes. And I don't know why detailers, including me, have struggled. I think it's because of the passion side. And you don't see electricians going, man, look at this red wire. I love the shade of this red, you just don't see them doing it. But yet, us detailers will see a new bottle, and we're like, God, look at the writing on this bottle. And I think it's because of the passion we've got. And now you look at the passion that, serious DIYers, Matt Mormon, his group, what they brought to the table of passion. I think that's kind of why we go there. But, it's Anthony. I think, I pray every day. I meditate, and learning to meditate has been one of the biggest challenges of my entire life. I'm really big into writing down my three wants of the morning, meaning in the morning I take and go, okay, what do I want to be thankful for tonight? And then that night I actually pick out three things, and I'm ultimately, sometimes it's the same thing for a couple times during the week. If you're going through a challenging time, is maybe a person that you love made it through another day, and that's okay. That's a great thankfulness, right? But I think all those things of being thankful, your faith, there's so many things that have been able to do it. And then I'll tell you, it's the fortitude of just being able to pick yourself up. Is that having other people to talk to is kind of not top of the list, because people are people. And it's like we were in Detroit. We had 2 weeks last week and the week before that were over 150 hours in 2 weeks, man. A lot of people, they think that, but have they done it? Truly done it. And have they done it at almost 58 years old? And a lot of people won't understand it. So I've learned to just have escapes. My daughter put it this way. This is really comes back to perfect timing. She goes, Dad, I see when you lift. And she goes, you want the next level of happiness, if you ask me? And I said, yeah, what's your take on that? And she goes, since you've really been committed to lifting again, your whole attitude's changed. She goes, why don't, instead of going for a walk, go over to the path and get up in the mountains. You live for living here, and you live for being in the trees. Why don't you change your walk around, jump in the truck, and go do that hour of hiking on the mountain? And you know what? I'm going to take her up on it, because that's where my passion lies. That's my comfort zone. I know, Anthony, get on your horse. You got a horse too. Is get on that horse. Try to do something daily. Do something daily every day. And I don't know, I can't speak for women, but men, we're horrible at this. Give yourself an hour every day, every single day. And don't do dumb shit, not social media and all that crap. Go out and move. Get your body moving. I hope that helps.
I think it should. So, all right, let me find the next one here. And I had a good one come in from Michael too, but let me get to this one. All right. Next up, Bill Quinn. Known him a long time.
Yeah,
What are your thoughts on retirement, and what would you suggest for planning ahead for what's inevitable?
Oh boy, this is a great one, Bill. Thank you. Listen, I was just talking. I was around a lot of people that I grew up with, on the last couple of weeks with Winnie passing away, and I was talking to Becky about this, and her and I were reminding each other that we went in and started our retirement accounts. We got married really young. We're 20 years old. And again, it's probably weird for somebody to talk about their first wife and, Diane. So out of respect, a lot of people hate their previous spouse. I'm really lucky that mine and I, we appreciate each other. But we at 19 years old, started up our retirement accounts. And then we also, what was really important is we started up whole life insurance accounts. And so, the younger that you can do that, and so putting in the maximum to a Roth account or an IRA account, putting in the maximum, this is really big, even if you're young, putting in the maximum to your health savings account. Okay. That's going to come down it's not if you get injured or have a sickness, it's when. We are humans. And if you drive a car, you are subject to other people's recklessness. So you can't say, I'm not going to need that, because just the time you say that, you're going to need it. The other thing is that if you're whatever age you're at, put away as much savings as you can. Buy real estate as early as you can, as early. If you're 60 and you don't have a house, try to get into a house right now. It's going to pay dividends. I mean, we're living longer and longer. But also, this is a really big one. Passive income. Is I know detailing businesses are worth money. They're worth more than they've ever been. They're not worth a lot. It's only as good as your record keeping. But, if you set up the right staff and you continue them in your business and you basically finance them to take your business over, and you've got a building that's attached to that, and they're leasing that building from you, and you're wetting your beak off of getting a little off of their detailing work. Let them make the money. Where you're going to make the money at is on leasing them back to shop, and then also for the finance payments for buying your company out for a reasonable price. So what I suggest on that one is have a reasonable down payment, have a plan in place, show them how to be successful, allow them to be successful, and then maybe even have an option to where in 10 years they get to fair market value on the building. And so that now they get to do the same thing when they retire. And so there's, that stream of income after you're done working is really important. And a lot of people don't think about that. And so, Bill, I don't think you can be too young. And I think the older you get, the more you put away. You've got to work with a really good, our CPA and our bookkeeper really helped me with those items. And we take advantage of every tax savings we can. You got to remember, when you put your money into the right kind of retirement accounts and the right kind of medical savings accounts and then invest, that's all before tax dollars in many cases. And so that's going to be huge, especially the younger you are. If you're starting at a really young age to do that, it's not about what you make, it's about what you spend and what you save. And so that's a huge one, Bill. So I hope that answers some questions. Get in there, start looking at it right now. Every little dime that you put away is going to be money later in life that's going to help you out. And you got to remember, I can't imagine not working. I mean, I just can't imagine that. I've gotten close to my dad in recent years. He's 87 years old, and he works every day, but he's got a great life doing it. He works because he loves what he does. There's a couple, 2, 3. He says he works full days. There are days he does, but most of the time it's bar 30 at about 11:30 in the morning, and it's time to go get a couple drinks in him, and then come back and finish the day up, in the hot tub or whatever, and then dinner and maybe 1 or 2 more drinks, and then it's retirement time for the night. So, but that's not a bad life either.
Nope. All right. Next up, Rusty Sarton. I hope I pronounced his name right. What are 3 things you wish you would have known prior to hiring your first employee?
Oh man, what asshole people are. Don't hire assholes. Really know who you're out hiring. Dead serious. Yeah, I think Rusty, thanks for the question. It's a good one. I mean, I'm joking, not joking on that. So I think the first thing is, did I really need him at that time? Did I really need him full time? There's a great system here in Southern California, and it's in other areas too, called ROP. In ROP, I was part of that in high school, and I worked for a print shop. And the ROP program through school paid my wages to go learn something new. And it was a real limited time. I think it was like 3 months. Well, if you think about that, that's probably most of our super busy time. And so think really part-time. I wish I would have thought about that when I first hired somebody on. I thought I needed somebody full-time. It worked out really well because this guy really didn't want to work 40 hours a week. And it's good because he didn't. There was weeks we did, but most of the time he didn't. He didn't want to. He was a lifestyle guy. So that just worked out by chance. The next one is, I wish I would have known about, is all the liability. Is 1099 contractor. I don't care where you live. I don't care what state it is. Here's the 3 things that qualify. Do they make their own schedule? Do they use their own tools? And do they use their own products? If you're supplying any of that, they are an employee. Now, if they come in whenever they want, they're using all their own gear. They've given you a contract that says, what it's going to cost you, and they have all their own products. That might qualify for a 1099. But I doubt there's any shops that are doing that. That'd be really tough to do. And so know the liabilities. You're going to have to pay workers' comp. You're going to have to pay a part of the taxes that go into it. You're going to have to take and pay. There's some state insurance funds that you have to pay into. What's the requirements in your state or county now with providing insurance? Some companies, I mean, it's 5 employees or over. You get to 5 employees pretty quick. Now you got a whole nother set of liabilities of having to make sure that they got good health care, right? And so all the liability side is having HR to, do you know what you can say and what you can't say? Do you know what you can even say in an interview and what you can't ask in an interview? A lot of us want to go into a non-compete agreement with our staff. In most cases, that's not going to work. There's very few cases that it will. We tried that out for many years. We found out a solution to it. It did work. We actually got to hold up in court a non-compete. But knowing all these different things and what it is, what it isn't, and hiring on, we finally ran all of our people through a temp agency, and it cost us more, but they had an HR department. They had great benefit programs that we paid into. So for several years, we just went through this agency, and they did all the payroll for us and everything else. It was more expensive, but God, man, it just made it so easy. And literally, if we wanted to fire somebody, if we had a bad apple, we would call them up, tell them what's happening. They would call the staff member, tell them to report to the office, and they're gone. We never saw them again unless they came by and were kind of ticked or had to pick something up. And so, are you ready for it? I mean, hiring somebody is a big step. And the government right now is so hurting is that they will come after you on the workers' comp side of things and the employee taxes in a heartbeat. And so the other thing you ask yourself, if you're not doing it legit and you've got people out in the field and they get hurt, I mean, they trip over an extension cord, you don't have to worry about the employee coming after you. Once that hospital goes in and they say, yeah, it happened at work, that fires off a whole caveat of actions that's probably going to get you in trouble with workers' comp in your state. So just be ready for it, Rusty. Be ready for it.
Cool. The next one was a big one. The next one came from Daniel Gill. And this goes back, you touched on it earlier. How do you get through the numbness when your business and life becomes stagnant? There's excitement here and there, but the numbness keeps you from enjoying things more. I pared that down a little bit because I couldn't get it all to fit, but that was the gist of it.
Daniel, that is a great question. I knew I saw numbness when I was looking through an email, and that must have been it. So I'll tell you the number one way that changed everything for me was getting more active with my wife and us going on dates. Probably about, our kids, we've got one, our youngest daughter is still at home. She's 19. We know that the time with her short, she's going to be moving on in her life at some point here in the next couple of years. Right. But we decided probably, I don't know, 12, 15 years ago, that we did it throughout our marriage, but we'd always kind of regress and go backwards. And it just made it all about the kids. And back in 2000, matter of fact, I know when it is, 2011, is Diane and I started dating, and we went on a date every week. Is that Friday or Saturday night? And if one of those didn't work for some reason, football, sports, we had to travel. We'd just go out to a nice dinner during the week. It wasn't as long, but I'll tell you that interaction of having fun with my wife and us getting unwound. And sometimes we would take and go away, maybe even in town, but have a staycation and go get a hotel. And we didn't have a lot of people around us. We didn't have a lot of family for the kids, but we'd figure it out. And so we would staycation it and go out and have a great time, and maybe go dancing or go to a nice dinner, and then stay at the hotel and wake up the next morning and just go do something for us the next morning and then come home. So that was probably the best way, knowing that you're a family guy. The other thing that we decided to do was, at 55 years old, I always told my kids I'd done air rescue, ground rescue, cave rescue, high angle rescue, alpine rescue, water rescue, all these different rescues, but I'd never done mounted. And I kept on telling them, one of these days I'm going to get a horse and do mounted rescue, on the horse, or search and rescue. And at 55, I hadn't ridden a horse in 30 something years. I went after that endeavor. I know enough about horses. Like, if you go on a trail ride, like on vacation, that was about as good as I was of a rider. I love horses, but I don't know it. I didn't know much about them. I didn't know how to clean their feet real good. Like, I didn't know what you did with them. I knew what they ate. I know how to clean up after them. But I got on the horse and started taking lessons at 55 years old. So just 2.5 years ago. Rip and I have been together for almost 3 years. And it changed my life, because the first time I was up taking a lesson, this little gal, Tracy's just tiny little thing, right? And she's barking out orders. And I got an attitude, because I bark the orders out. I train people. I teach people. I'm an expert in everything I do. And I had to get off the horse and take a knee. And she's like going, "What are you doing?" And I apologized to her, and I said, "You've got my full attention now. You are the professional. I am the student." I had to correct myself. I had to check myself at the door. I'll tell you, learning something new as you age. And I would say, if you ask Diane, about every 2 or 3 years, I'll pick up a little something new. Might not be completely new, but something new-ish. So at the same time I'm doing the horses, I got really into overlanding, because it goes hand in hand. We go out and camp with our horses, right? So if you put me on the ground and tell me to sleep in any weather, I'm good to go, got the equipment for it, know what to do. But all of a sudden I got this camper truck, everything else, these luxuries, that I've never camped with before in my life. And I had to figure it out. Well, those figure outs, really, that numbness, it's kind of like I mentioned, and it takes you a different direction. You've got an interest outside of work. The other thing I do too is this. A lot of people aren't going to agree with this, or I think some of you will, that are seasoned in your business, or maybe a little aged, is that at about 4:30, man, in the afternoon, my phone's done. I'm done with business. Other people can help me out. Chris is here for that. Oscar's here for that. They do a really good job. And weekends, I'm done with business. Now, there's exceptions to that, right? There's times you got to, but in general now, and I had that going for me about 20 years ago. And I really was building up a great lifestyle, and I just kept blowing, the business kept blowing up. And so, I love to ski. I love to be 360 degrees. I like that at every 5-degree mark, I've got an interest. And so all the way through 360 degrees, 365 days a year, I've got something interesting that I can go do that I love. Mountaineering. I mean, getting out and doing that. We put on a leadership course. That I could do that every single weekend. I'm not much of a spectator or anything. So like, watching stuff is not of interest to me. Watching sports and stuff like that, it's just not my thing anymore. I used to love sports, but not really watching it. I like to go get active. And so just doing that, it's funny is when I got into mountaineering is that I don't know. I've probably got 20 backpacks, and I got so good that a local company was sending me backpacks to test to give them my opinion on how the backpack carried. And I had a couple military suppliers do the same thing. And I got so proficient at that. Right now, I could switch over and make a living if I lost everything detailing related wise. I could go into two or three different things and make a pretty good living within a year, 6-figure income within a year, losing anything, not involved in detailing. Is that I've gotten proficient enough of those things that and to me, you want to be a Renaissance person. You want to have a lot of interest, a lot of knowledge, and a lot of things, and that keeps it from getting numb. Now, 2 weeks yesterday, I woke up and I was tired. We had the funeral on the emotional drain on the funeral on Monday. And I've also learned to do something that's not natural, and that's rest. And that's important too, because if all you do is go, 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 you're going to wear yourself out. Thank you, Mr. Gill. That was a good question.
Next up, actually, I'm going to throw in one or two that we just got that came in real quick.
Okay.
One came from Michael Botello, and see if I can get that one up here. He says, how do you deal with it when you're always helping others, but when you need help, no one can find the time? Do you ever become cynical? Well, I feel like I feel like I deal with this one quite a bit. I tend to be one of those guys that, people come to a lot for things, and so when I can't get things when I need it, I become cynical. So
and I think what I've done through my life is now I've just realized that everybody's really busy, and we can be pretty selfish, me included. I mean, I feel bad because, I've owed you something for a while, but I realized that how I kept saying in this is that it's okay. And I'll tell Chris this, something will go down and say, it's okay. It's there. We don't know what other people's challenges are. And so what I've decided to do, Michael, when I do things now is I do it with zero expectations for return. Is that I'll ask myself, okay, this is a big do. It might take me a good part of a day to do something for somebody. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but holy crap, when you've got, when you've got a network like we've got and all of our brands and everything else, that's a lot, right? And so I'll ask, am I okay if I don't get anything back from this? Am I gonna be angry or upset if this person goes a whole different direction, which is so common? People ask for, they'll ask for advice. They're pretty freshman level within their journey, and they go do a complete different thing, or their actions is they're doing stuff that you can see is going to be down the road is going to be a problem for them, and you say something and then it backfires and comes back on you. So what I say now is, does it need to be said? Am I the one to say it? And does it need to be said right now? And so if I'm okay with not getting a return on it, then I move on that. If it's going to give me heartburn, then I'll just tell the person, I'll be honest, right now is not a good time. I just simply, I got a text message, I think yesterday or this morning, and I told the person, hey, I've got to get through this funeral. Get a hold of me, Tuesday. So it was yesterday. So I got to get back on that text and take that call, right? But I don't expect anything back. I don't now. Again, if it's a big, I'm giving up a lot to get there, then I gotta level with the person, and say, hey, are you ready to take action on this? Because what I'm going to suggest to you is going to take a big adjustment, and it's going to take months to do. Most times the people say, no, I'm not that committed. I say, okay, so cool. When you are, get back in touch with me and I'll share over. And a lot of times they'll say, well, can you share anyway? No, because if you're not ready, I don't have the time available to take away from myself, my family, and other people. If you don't have the time to make you're going to have to make a big commitment. Well, how big of it is, maybe if I hear it, no, it's going to be a big commitment. It's going to be a 180-degree change of what you're doing right now. And so I'll level with them. And so that's really helped me. And then again, realizing everybody's got their battles, man. You look at, we weren't planning on Winnie, passing away right during the, when Detroit happened, and then right going into a training, man. But that's life, man. People die, and having somebody so, one of my top 3 pillars of my entire life. I mean, my youth was built around this person, right? So much of who I am was built by them. How do you plan for that? And when she got sick, when she needed something, which was not very often, that's why she was an amazing person, is she'd always apologize for taking time out of my day. And I'm like, oh my God, to get back on this is huge. So it's like, even in the mafia in our group, we have a 2-year membership minimum before they can go to certain projects and stuff. And that's why, is we know the nature of people is they want what's going to be best for them. And they want what's going to take and build them up and their business up. But what many of us don't realize is that it's like the military, or any search and rescue team or law enforcement, it's a team play. And if we got to do what's best for everybody involved, not just, we know it's going to change your business, but what's it going to do to the project, So we've got to ask those hard questions, and some people just don't like it, and that's okay, because we've learned our boundaries, we've set our boundaries, and I think that's probably the walk away from that, is you got to set your boundaries, know where it is, still be kind, but you got to be realistic with your time, and man, the emotional wear on kind of people abusing, your time, or you're willing to help but they're not, boy, that's tough. That's really tough.
Let me jump
Good
to
question.
another one here. Let's see.
I love these, man. I love these. I'm looking at some of them coming up active now. So maybe what we'll do is take some of these that we don't get to today, make sure to send them back over to us,
Yeah, no, I got and I'll try, and some of the ones that we had come in yesterday, I might put off and answer some that are coming in live right now too. So try and juggle them that way. But here's a good one from Alejandro Bonilla. He's out in he's in, well, I always forget. Anyway, but how do you cope with the roller coaster of emotions that comes with business ownership?
Again, mental toughness. You learn. I learned this, Diane, man, since I remember her first saying this to me. She was 26 years old, and she says, don't borrow trouble. And I said, what the heck's that mean? She goes, that means that you don't know if that's going to happen or not. So why are you worrying about it? Is deal with it when it happens. The other thing that I've learned is especially this is really important. What's that?
Real quick, just related to that. Tom Petty's like my favorite musician.
Yeah.
And he's got a line in one of his songs that says, most things I worry about never happen anyway.
They don't. Seriously. That's so true. Or they're not near as catastrophic. And then the big things that happen, you don't remember weeks or months from there. You just don't. And so there's things that are going to happen that is beyond your control. I know a couple times on missions that we've things went bad, and we always say the first thing to go bad on a mission is the planning, is the plan gets thrown out the window, because almost every time there's a hiccup, and that's why you've got to be, flexible and just able to move. And there's been several missions where we get out there and we're pulling off or recovering somebody, getting them out, and things just go wrong. And sometimes people die. I mean, that's at least with what we do in the automotive industry. We're not dealing with, people dying on us during that job, right? Or you hope not. But my point is that we can't control that, man. That was, some people call it process of natural selection. Other people call it God's faith. However you relate it back to, but there's the emotions is you've got to take in business, check your emotions. Is that when I've got great friendships in this industry. But when it comes down to business decisions and doing things, is check your emotions, man. And boy, have I learned, man, if that, Chris knows where I'm going. A lot of you listening know where I'm going. Boy, if that wasn't a lesson of the last few years of my life, a lot of people saw some stuff go down, witnessed it and stuff like that. And, I won't say I'm more guarded, because I'm not going to do that to future people. I won't let what other people decide to do, say, or their actions take away from relationships that I don't even have yet, that I'm going to build or I'm building right now. But I will tell you this, I've set boundaries, and my boundaries, again, were even last week were proven, even in our group, boundaries are proven. And so once that boundary's hit, sorry, this is not an emotional decision. It's a business decision. And so we've learned to kind of separate that. Now there are clients and there's people you get really close to that you build up relationships for a long time, decades. Those are tough, because that's a lot more than a client, customer relation. Those are human contacts. And so those are, they're there. I tell people all the time, I've taken a break from Facebook and Instagram for about a month. And the reason why is I get on there, with all the people I follow. When I get on Facebook, it seems that I went through the other day on Sunday, and I said, how many people lost people in the last few days that I have been watching? There were 17 people on my feed that had lost loved ones. And honestly, I'm going to be honest, it gets to me. And so I just took a little bit of a break. I'd post up every once in a while, but I had to step back, because seeing people's hardships at that level, and going and giving condolences, I don't know, it kind of gets to me every once in a while. And so that's a boundary. And so I set that boundary. The other thing, again, really going back to everything, is I think, what was the roller coaster of emotions? Is that what he said?
Yep.
Alejandro's one of my favorite guys in the world too, by the way. Is that the roller coaster is, you've got to take and ask yourself, does it need to be said? Does it need to be said by me? Does it need to be said right now? I really live by that. And then the other thing I do is that I'm very careful and protective over, I know what I'm really sensitive to. For instance, I can't watch like bad stuff on animals. I can't watch bad stuff on kids. I can't do it. And so I just won't, I just don't let that side. Maybe that's, I don't buy in. I don't watch the news. I don't follow politics. I have a couple sources that I'm really protective over of where I get my information. I vote as a member of our city, of a member of our county, our member of our state, our country. And I just don't get wrapped around the axle. I just refuse to do it, because in the long run, I can only do what I can do, but I do honor I think it's my duty to take actions. But I did so when I was a reserve deputy. I became a reserve deputy to carry a weapon when we're on missions. And then during my street time, I learned, holy crap, there's a lot going on in my city, the very place I grew up, the very place I was born, that I can be I know this. I know this town. I know these people, and I can help. And so I became what was called our line reserve, which is just a deputy. And I loved giving back to that. And again, I get my kicks. I'm kind of a thrill seeker. I like crazy shit. And so, to take and be at a different level, here I am beautifying cars. And the next morning, 8:00, I've got a car full of gang members pulled out doing a felony stop. It was. And it's funny, because when I started out, Southern California isn't what it is now. And when I gave it up, because I was a weekend warrior that these guys are not. They're not weekend warriors. They are hardened criminals, and my soft side was going to get me killed. So again, my boundaries, I realized them, right? But going through that, and then my birthday, one of my birthdays is going and skiing one run, going down and doing a quick dive at Laguna, and then jumping out of an airplane on the way home. I love thrills. I love like getting scared and the adrenaline pump and the woo, but did you die? Kind of stuff. And And so switching that up and getting on a horse, and sure enough, him and I got in an accident this last June, and I could have been killed. And did I get back on him the next day? Do I love him any less? No. But his ass and my ass went through a lot more advanced training now, because I would get myself killed if it wasn't. And I look like a bubble boy when I ride now, because I have this vest that goes around. It looks like one of the bass fishermen that wear those life preservers that blow up. So I got a whole vest that blows up around me, and I got a full face helmet, and I'm not going to get stepped on again. At least I'll live through it.
That's right.
Good question.
Yes, yeah. And maybe not have to go see the dentist as often.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Let's see. I'm going to bring up one. Where'd it go? Right here. Todd Bartosh asks, and this is kind of nuts and bolts of business stuff. How do you keep after leads without coming off as annoying or overpressuring? And I'll add as desperate.
Great question. Software is the first thing you're going to do. The second thing is, I've called it the soft touch approach to marketing and follow-up since I was a really young guy, teenager, is that I don't call it like when somebody calls in, here's my routine. So when somebody calls, I answer the phone. Our phones are, I got to check Chris and see how he's answering the phone. But, I tell people, don't be boring, when you answer the phone. Be excited, be different, stand out. The second thing is I engage the person by repeating their name, and I'm writing everything down as I talk to them. The third thing I do is only sell what I really believe in. The fourth thing I do is that when I get off the phone, I want to have something tangible that I can send them that's going to get my material and my name in front of them again. So let's say their name's Todd, and I'll say, hey, Todd, do this for me. Let me have your email. I'm going to send you a little booklet that I wrote about all about detailing and what to look for when even if you don't use us, this is going to take and allow you to find the perfect detailer for you. And so I try to get that in their hand right then and there. The next thing I do, Todd, is I follow them up the next day with they'll get that email with the attachment. And then the next day I call them. I don't text them. I call them. And even if I get a voicemail and I say, hey, Todd, this is Renny. I talked to you about having your Ferrari detailed. And just wanted to follow up, see if you had any questions on that. And if you do, here's my number. This is really important. This is my direct cell number, my personal cell number. So if you have any questions about that detail, call me. If not, I hope to run into you sometime real soon. And then it's soft touch. And then from there, we put their email. That's the reason we ask for their email too, is to send them that really nice brochure that we've had turned into a PDF. But then I can put them into my newsletter. And then sometime down the road, depending on our newsletter cycle, is they're going to get a newsletter from us. And then we're going to put them into our software, and they're going to take, and we do a tickle when they come in as we get further and further out. And so we do that follow-up call. 15 days later, they'll get an email, a newsletter. 15 days later, they'll get another off of our software push to just say a text or an email, or both, saying, hey, just following up. We talked about your Ferrari and wanted to see if you had any questions. Then they'll get another. So we're giving them slowly. We're giving them information, and that information, those touch points, on average right now, it's probably 12 to 20 soft touches to get a person to buy on average. So we looked at it like this: if our average sale is $2,000, and it takes 20 calls to get that $2,000. Every call we do is worth $100, whether they say yes or no. It doesn't matter. We're going to get to the $2,000 sale at that 20 touch points. And so if I look at it like, oh, this isn't working. Well, hold on. If it takes 20 calls to get $2,000, that's nothing. And the way you look at it, okay, I just got down. The first 19 said no. I just got through 1,900. The next one or two on average are going to say yes. And so that's how we do it. I don't want to stalk them if you give them really good information. Jim Gogan, silent giant in the detailing industry, he had amazing locally in his newsletter. He had a calendar of events that he put out there for his local area of everything that was going on the next 30 days. And it was brilliant because he became not just a focal point for, he does a lot of services, in the automotive arena, but he became a local source for what was going on. And you can also take and support customers that had businesses and stuff that they were promoting and doing to help out the community. And so that's a huge one. So don't stock them. Just give good information out. Keep top of what we call top of mind marketing. They might not even be able to afford you, Todd. You might be too expensive for them now. But if you're entertaining them, you're educating them, and you're polite and nice, and you're likable, they're going to hang around. And at one point, they might be looking for a Timex watch. You may be a Rolex, but at some point they're going to buy that Rolex.
Yeah, I think what are those three? Educate, entertain, and inspire. Right? Those are the three kind of pillars of that.
Right. And so. I like to entertain too. I like to take in people that their education and to me, educating people and entertaining them is the same thing. And I'm not saying in a funny way. I'm just saying that you're not boring. Is that you're actually you're. I mean, look at my ugly mug. Some people connect with you, some people won't. But when people connect with you, they're usually there for life. They're committed to you. They want to be a customer long term, especially if they like you. Especially the biggest one is trust. If they trust you.
Very cool. All right, I'm going to stick with some of these that just came in. Rick Walling had a good one. Could be simple, could be complex. If any, how much time do you take for just yourself each day?
An hour, at least, minimal. Even Rick, backstory. Rick's another one of these silent giants of the detailing industry. The guy's just been going hard. We're the same age. And another guy that a lot of you would say an older guy, right? We are older. Races motocross stills. I'm talking guys. This dude gets on shit that's the latest and most powerful bikes and does shit. I get chilled. I am not doing what he does on a bike. I used to, and even then it just wasn't I've got a dirt bike, but mine only goes like 50 miles an hour and it does not like air underneath the tires. This dude's launching off shit. He's on professional tracks, but the dude's ran an incredible business, an incredible life. He owns his property. He did it the same way I did it. Slow and steady wins the race. So Rick, I think, you got really into fitness. I look at you, you're already a pretty fit guy, and you just took it to a new level because you wanted to, again, here's some bucket things. This guy is on major motocross tracks. And a couple of years ago, he goes, hey man, I'm not going to be able to do Air Force One. I'm not going to be able to do this because my goal is to hit these different tracks and race them, before my body kind of gives out to where I can't quite do that. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that I get chills. It's brilliant, man. And so, Rick, I think that you've already done it, but I try to get out here. The days I've got a workout partner about 3 days a week, and it's a social hour, but working out. And I try to get out here and spend between the bike and lifting about an hour, and listen to podcasts. Sometimes I rock out. Sometimes I've got some good funk music on. It's all about mood. And then I spend every day I spend improvement. The thing I love to do, I love to read. And I like to read interesting things. I don't care what it is. Sometimes it's business. Sometimes it's adventure stories. Sometimes it's I'm reading a book right now on the DNA makeup of the human body. It's really complex. My buddy Norman gave it to me, and he says this is going to bend your mind. And it's so hard to read, but it's cool to read, like where I think where science now and having a maker come together. It's like this shit just didn't happen, right? So to me, it's a science book telling me that my belief in faith is justified because of how complex all this human body is. It's just amazing. So I do that, and then I love to research properties, and I love to research cars. Chris and I are constantly sending cars back to each other. My daughter's a car fool. My oldest daughter's a professional pilot, so I'm always sending stuff to her, and she sent me this book thing on rotors, all about helicopters. So we geek out. So, Rick, I'd say last night, for instance, Diane was tired. She had to get up early. I had to get up early. I went in, I stayed with her until she fell asleep. I've had this crap going on, so I kind of keep her awake. So I let her fall asleep. Then I went out and I looked at real estate for about an hour in cars. So about a half an hour in each one. It brings me joy. Something so simple. It just brings me joy. So between those things, but Rick, you're doing a great job. And the thing is, again, you've got a lovely wife. Is I think dating our spouse, our significant other, is really important to. Diane and I are going through. We've had just I don't know. I don't even know what to call it. I hate the word busy, but I sat her down the other day and I said, listen, I need to go on more dates with you. I'm lonely for you. And my beautiful wife responded, we're going out this weekend. We're going to get on a new habit of going out because she breathes energy into me. Is that when I'm with her, I get closer and I feel better about everything about life. And I need her to breathe some energy into me right now. Not because I'm in any situation. I'm actually really feel good, right? There's so many positive things going on in life. I just want her more. And it's awesome to be at a level to where she knows that's a compliment and she's going to make sure to carve out time.
I actually try really hard to listen to one album a day. And actually I take it a step further than just listening to music, right? I listen on vinyl and I listen on a manual turntable, which means you got to babysit it and you can't just wander off and go. You can't just wander off and go do something else.
Yeah, you and our oldest daughter, now Darren's gotten into it too, is that I'm on the hunt. I'm going to get, God, I wish I would, all the things you sold, you wish you would have done. I had such a cool setup, right? But now I just what Chris said, he never said that. I want and it sounds nuts, but I want putting the needle down on the record, is I've found out like if you guys have studied, like I read a lot about the samurai traditions and culture and life. And if you look at the things that they did, that to us, it looks silly, but to them it's discipline. It's mind control. Is if you can do these simple things over and over and over again, the difficult things become simpler because of the discipline. And I think that's absolutely. So if you look at probably the greatest warriors in the history of mankind, I mean, when Europeans were running around in loincloths and throwing rocks at each other, these dudes have sophisticated freaking armor and were launching shit at each other. I mean, probably 1,000 years. They're 1,000 years ahead. I mean, there's 200 years of civil war in Japan, 100 years straight, and then broken up into it. And the samurai right in the middle of that, right? And so you look at how the simplest thing becomes a tradition to them, and it's so important. It's because they realize that if you have a system and process to the simple things, you're going to have a system and process to the difficult things.
Yep.
Every once in a while, I sound smart.
every once in a while.
Every once in a while, I sound smart.
Every once in a while. All right. Let's see. We're probably running out of time here, and we still got a lot of questions. So we're definitely gonna have to save some for the next time. But I'm gonna try and get to one that came in live here, and this might be our last one. This is kind of a nuts and bolts one too. This is Jeremy Lau. He asks, how do you let a client know it's their fault that something failed and not the coating's fault? He's got a customer that keeps wanting him to redo his bike because he blames us for the shit he's doing to it. So right. How do you handle that kind of customer?
I think that's a great question. I think through education, you don't have to. What you do is especially customers like that, put on educational events maybe once a month, and bring people in and keep repeating those things, and maybe get quotes from guys like me or the manufacturers themselves, and that kind of lay it out. And so invite him in and say, you're going to learn a lot about, what's going on with the coatings and stuff. And while these coatings are having problems, that doesn't mean the coatings having problems. Why the coatings are having problems is because of actions you're doing. And so the other thing is that, is you've got to at some point just stand up and say, look, enough's enough. Here's what you're doing. And so I think getting video content out there to support that, especially if it's an ongoing problem. And if there are those guys, and then the other option is fire them. If they get to that mental space again, Tom Petty is, most things you worry about never happen. But if this guy keeps coming back and he's just, there's I always say the back of my brain's only got so much capacity for mental bullshit, right? And drama. And that's what he's bringing into your company is that. So it might be the best thing to do is I would just offer him, say, look at, I'm going to go ahead and give you a refund on this last one. This isn't a coding problem, but I would try to educate him slowly before you do that. Bring him in, get some quotes up there from manufacturers, whatever coding you use, get a hold of them and kind of bullet point what he keeps complaining about, have them send a response back, and then share that with your whole audience. So you're not picking at him, but send him a link to it and say, I wanted to send this to you because this is some of the problems that keep reoccurring with your bike. And so I think this could be helpful. At that point, if he's still blaming you and still being, a jerk, is get rid of him. It's not worth the headache. It really isn't. How do you nicely say?
I would say too, make sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, make sure that with all your customers, especially your coding ones, that you're sending them home with some kind of coding aftercare instructions and best practices and do's and don'ts and that kind of thing. Something written that you actually, print out and send home with them.
Great point. Great point.
And crud, if it's becoming too much of a problem, you could even have them sign a copy of it if you go over it with them in person. Just say, hey, I've explained this to you. Sign it here and let them keep a copy.
Chris nailed it. What I would do is before you go out there next, before he goes out, all the problems you're having with him, what he's doing wrong. I would just say, hey, just so we're clear, this is the care that we're, right now. And again, not being negative, but being, you're a professional. That would be like going in when I had all from my accident, all my surgeries on my mouth, is telling them what to do. Is no, I don't want. That's the last thing I want to do. But I'm cool with that. It's like when I started this whole thing out, me getting off my horse and submitting to the trainer, is that I know a lot about a lot of stuff, but I don't know it all. And matter of fact, when it came to my horse, and still to this day, 3 years of horse ownership isn't shit, And so to get echo, it's weird.
Oh yeah.
I got a repeat. It's coming.
Sounds good over here.
So yeah, good. So my point is that you can't become an expert in 2 years. It's going to take you time. This guy is not going to be an expert. You don't need to be negative. You got to try to get him. Your job isn't just to get rid of him or to like flex and show him how wrong he is. Your job is to educate him. But at some point is that you might have to take and exit with him. Now, the best way to do that is to simply raise your price, double it. So the next time he calls up and you say, hey, we've had a price adjustment. And he goes, wow, why? I've done a lot of work with you. Say, be honest with him. Say you're a lot to deal with. There's a lot of emotion that goes into it. And honestly, we get blamed for a lot of things. It's not our problem. And so if we're going to continue, we need to make a little more money to continue with you. You're kind of a high maintenance customer, to be direct. And there's nothing wrong with that. And could it come back on you? Yeah, but you've got all the facts with you. But before you do something like that, I like Chris's idea. Bullet point what you keep hearing from him that he's doing wrong. You know what he's doing. And so tell him straight out is I would write a question and answer kind of like what we've done here. Hey, when I have my bike, my bike, I'm going to, I'll ask you right now, or I'll kind of live it. Might be a problem you're having, is that what kind of wash mitt should I use? And then say, well, the question is, here's the wash mitts not to use. And so make sure to include in there the wash mitt he's using that screws his bike up every single time. Hey, what should I be cleaning my coated vehicle with? Say, well, here's what you should be using. This is what we recommend. We can provide it for you, but here's what you don't want to recommend. And then nail that guy specifically, so keep it short, keep it simple, and don't poke him, but be truthful, be a professional.
Very cool. Very cool.
I think what do you think?
Think that was a pretty good run for right now?
So we're a lot over, and so I think that to keep people's attention span, we can bring it back. Let's maybe if we've got a hole in the schedule, let's do the rest of them in the next couple 2-3 weeks. We got a really episode 200. Episode 200 is coming up, and I've got I think it's going to be pretty cool. You know, we only do this once a week, so if you think about during COVID, we're a little more active than that because we had some downtime on our hands. But 200th episode on a weekly is quite the accomplishment. And
yeah, I'm anticipating 200 being right around April 10th.
Okay, well, that's a cool date. That's a real cool date. So, so let's adjourn for today. Hey, like always, you know what, we want to thank the entire ATG family. If you're not familiar with them, go look them up. Is that our family of brands is growing. Our contributors, PNS, Dynabraid, we want to thank that. So many more, that we want to thank. But really, direct sponsorship comes from you, the listener. So if you like this program, please tell a friend about it. Share it on your feed, and give us some feedback too. Let us know how we did. So our goal is simple. We want to change one life an episode. If we've impacted you, we want to hear about it because that's the go juice for us. That's the go juice. That's the fuel that turbocharges our engines. And so we appreciate each and every one of you. My challenge is, Winnie, I love you. I'm so blessed that I had you in my life. I challenge each and every one of you, go tell somebody that has changed your life, acknowledge that, and then send them some love today. So you guys take care. Happy detailing all, and we'll see you on the next one.